former Premier League teams who are in the top 6. Is that kind of challenge you relish?
Yeah, the players are really looking forward to it. We're really disappointed we couldn't play at the weekend. It would have been a fabulous opportunity for us to continue our good form and for our fans to have celebrated the life of our monarch. But unfortunately we weren't able to do that. I think it would have been brilliant to have the national anthem ringing around Ashton Gate. But now we look forward to the 2 games that we've got. Wednesday against Norwich and then Saturday against Burnley. 2 good sides, 2 sides that will have to be at our best to win the games, and that's what we will be trying to do. It's not we're not going into these games with any sort of inferiority complex. It's about trying to measure ourselves, and it's good to see that the players are in a positive mood.
Both games, space of 4 days.
Yeah.
What kind of considerations do you need in terms of recovery, travel, selection?
Yeah. We've looked into all that, and so we'll be working as well as we can to make sure that both preparation and recovery for both games is as good as it can be. And we have facilities to help us with that, which is great. So as far as I'm concerned, players look forward to just playing the games, and we'll deal with the journeys because you've got to play them. So I just think everybody's looking forward to the games.
There was obviously no Preston North End match, so
yeah.
Our kind of last match reference point was Blackburn Rovers.
Yeah.
From that game,
yeah.
What do you want to improve on?
Well, we need to make it more difficult for teams to get back into a side if we're on top. And I think conceding 2 goals against Blackburn was an irritation for all of us because it wasn't as close a game as the scoreline suggests. But I'll take the win. We're trying to improve as a team, and there'll always be areas that are needed to be worked at, but I just think that the players are, at the moment, they are enjoying the football and working exceptionally hard. So there's been some positive talk recently, and it's good that people are talking in a positive way. I don't want to be dismissive of that, but I also am somebody who is wary when things are bubbling along nicely, because it's vital that we look to improve, not just sort of sit back and say, yeah, we're doing okay. Doing okay is all right, but we want to be successful. So to be successful, you've got to be pushing the boundaries all the time.
Under 21s, they play tomorrow against Cardiff City. Like last week against Sheffield Wednesday, could we see some first teamers playing, and possibly Stefan Bacic?
Yeah, possibly. But we will need... what's different from this week to last week is that we can't really afford to expose too many players to an under-21 game with the 2 games that are coming up. We've got to make sure that everybody goes through a similar sort of preparation for this week, so that the match days, everybody's absolutely ready to play. So it will be slightly different, but the under-21 games programme is always an opportunity for players who are a bit short on pitch time to get some. But on Saturday morning we had a 11v11 here for an hour, which was we made the most of the change of programme at the weekend.
So operating, you wanted as many players available as possible. When you're playing top teams like Burnley and Norwich, how do you balance selection against managing resources, really?
It's about winning the game. So the first priority. It's not really about juggling too much. It's about we want our opponents to be concerned about us. So we just go into the most important game's Norwich because it's the next one, and then we'll see what happens after that to see whether there are other things we need to consider. But apart from that, at the moment, yeah, we're talking about the week ahead, but at the moment the most important game is Norwich because it's the next one.
Tommy Conway's doing really well. We talked about him last week. He has been named Young Player of August across the whole of the EFL, which is a fantastic achievement for someone so young, and also I think he's the first Bristol City player since Tammy Abraham in 2016. His development, what do you make of that?
It's impressive, but he takes a lot of credit for it himself because of how hard he works. He'll need to keep his feet firmly on the floor, and I think he will. His teammates, I don't think, will allow him not to. I think his teammates also have been a big part of his development. So yeah, it's congratulations, but now put it to one side and start concentrating on us again, because that's what it's about. It's, you know, the accolades that come with achieving some success and some improvement is good to recognise, but actually his career is in its very early days, and so we'll see whether the weight of expectation affects him, and hopefully it doesn't, and hopefully continues to recognise what's got him into the position that he's in, and that is just being himself. So he's there on merit, and I expect him to continue to do what's got him into the team in the first place, and that is work hard and take his chances. But it's about the team.
And does the fact with the younger players, so there was a period when you had to play them because of the resources you had, being able to integrate players from the academy now in a perhaps more controlled and measured way, that's obviously beneficial both for them and for the team.
Yeah, I mean, there's an element of, you're right, that when I first came here, there was an element that we had to. We just didn't have the numbers available.
And Riley and Sam and...
Yeah, the danger with that, or the potential danger with that, is you expose them to an experience which can be damaging. I've seen it before, and it's very unfortunate when that happens. As a manager, I don't like to do that, because one of the big elements of player development is exposing them to a challenge that they're capable of dealing with. And that's why you will see from time to time managers and coaches choosing to put players in and take them out. It's because it is about trying to judge where the challenge is appropriate for them. Tom is at a point now where he's in there because he's playing well. I mean, I consider him to be, I don't care how young or old players are. His status now is one of a first team player. He'll only come out the side now if he doesn't do what he's there to do. You know, it's not really at the moment about necessarily having to protect him, although there will be stages that possibly happens too. So, but you can't put all the players in the same bracket. You know, players develop at a different rate, and I don't mean physically. I'm talking about on lots of different levels. So, you know, some players need a firmer hand, and some need a bit more of a gentle touch, and that is where it's very, you know, or more sympathetic. More sympathetic touch to what their needs are. So we'll see. Look, ultimately our youngsters are doing okay because they're good enough, and at least now we have a system at place in place at the club where communication is really good across the club, which is very encouraging. We've got a good crop of players in the building, youngsters. But there's a lot then of responsibility on the senior players, and that's not necessarily always fair on them, especially if the team's not doing well. So we're doing all right at the minute. So there'll be a less, in some ways, less need to be aware of those sorts of issues. But for instance, when I came here, we got a lot of players, senior players, who were trying to look after their own game because we weren't doing very well. So you can't expect senior players to invest the majority of their time on younger players because they're having to work hard to look after their own game. So there's lots to consider with all of this, and the bottom line is we can't populate the team totally with youngsters. You need a blend, and we know that our depth of squad is a little bit short in some ways, but we're just making the best of the situation, as you should always do.
And that, I suppose, mentoring, for a better word. But when we talk to the likes of Tommy, and he mentions Naki, and he mentions Andy King and Matty and other players, Scotty, it's no surprise to you that those players would do that, but is that the secret of a good squad, where the senior players don't necessarily look after themselves, but also have a...
I don't know whether it's the secret, but it's just, I think it's a blend which is sensible. There is a saying in football that you're only as good as your senior players. Well, that depends on whether they're good characters as well, and whether they are still able to do the job. And you can't have a policy where you make a sweeping statement. It's always changing, and it's always developing, and the art to building a squad is to get that makeup right. And sometimes it's planned, and sometimes you stumble on it. People who talk about it being it's not an exact art, and it takes time and a lot of energy and a lot of hard work, but we're moving in the right direction, but we've still got loads of work to do.
Thanks for joining us.
Okay, cheers.